Hello and welcome to Science Research Weekly, Season 4, Episode 33, Vomiting Cells and Extreme Ankylosaurs. Get ready for the failure of beta blockers, Cathartocytosis, flagging suspicious journals with AI, an extreme ankylosaur armor, the basics of phylogenetic analysis in R, and a tiny space grant from DevelopSpace. This episode covers materials from August 29th to September 4th. Let's get started with our research articles. First up, human endogenous retrovirus K or HERV-K envelope structures in pre- and post-fusion by cryo-EM. Researchers were able to image the 3D structure of a human endogenous retrovirus, which is a viral remnant that's part of the human genome. In fact, about 8% of the human genome are remnants of HERVs. And so they were able to use cryo-EM to actually visualize this. Apparently, it's pretty difficult to do so, but they were able to manage that. And now, why this matters is, and in issues such as like cancer, autoimmune diseases, and even neurodegenerative diseases, the proteins, glycoproteins from this, from HERVs can be aberrantly expressed in them. And so they might be a target for therapeutic interventions. So that is, yeah, interesting combination of microscopy, virology, and possible biomedical applications. All right, speaking of biomedical applications that have not worked, let's turn to our article from the New England Journal of Medicine, beta blockers after myocardial infarction without reduced ejection fraction. So, researchers performed a randomized trial in Spain and Italy to look at beta blockers. So, beta blockers are commonly prescribed to patients after heart attacks, so that's myocardial infarction. And they were specifically looking at the type of heart attack with reduced ejection fraction. And so they had over 4,000 patients. They assigned them to either beta blocker therapy or not beta blocker therapy. To about 4,000 patients per arm, so over 8,000. And what they found is that there was no effect of the beta blockers on more improved mortality, repeated heart attacks, and hospitalization for heart failure. Contrary to the expectations that beta blockers, which have been used for a while, that would actually improve outcomes, they do not. So it doesn't look like beta blockers actually work. Okay, turning to our next article. Cathartocytosis, jettisoning of cellular material during reprogramming of differentiated cells. Turns out cells can vomit, for lack of a better word, cellular material while reprogramming after injury in a newly discovered process known as cathartocytosis. This process is actually faster than the typical autophagic or lysosomal digestion, usually how cells deal with cellular material they don't need. And so it's fairly efficient for quick cellular downsizing, downscaling. But I think because of this sort of quick expulsion, it can leave debris in the extracellular environment, which may be problematic for things like inflammation or development of disease. So, fascinating discovery of how cells maybe take the quick and easy or not so easy way to downsize. Moving along here, we have estimating the predictability of questionable open access journals. So researchers used AI tools to evaluate and find questionable journals. So at best, these journals are paid to publish with little quality control, and at worst, they're paper mills. By using metrics such as website design, publication metadata, and author data, they actually were able to flag over 1,000 suspect journals. Switching gears here to the deep past, extreme armor in the world's oldest ankylosaur. Spicomelus afer is the world's oldest ankylosaur. It found in the Middle Jurassic. And with the finding of a new, more complete specimen, researchers have found that surprisingly, it actually has the most elaborate armor of any ankylosaur, including a huge set of neck spikes. So if you're not watching the video, you really got to see these. That's pretty impressive. A lot of neck spikes, around the back, even spikes on the tail. And so this sort of upturns a lot of what scientists thought they knew about ankylosaurs, because later ankylosaurs had simpler armor. It looks like Spicomelus's armors probably weren't developed originally just for defense. It's probably for things like display, kind of like a peacock's tail, etc. And also the fact that it had a spiky tail means that the hypothesis that defensive tail weapons evolved in the early Cretaceous evolved much later. That seems to be not true. That looks like they had them from the beginning, and maybe later species lost them and other ones retained them. So a lot of really fascinating things about dinosaurs and origins. All right, and our final article for today is Patterned Invagination Prevents Mechanical Instability During Gastrulation. So during fly embryo development, there are folding patterns. So that's invagination. And one of them is, as an example that the researchers looked at, was the cephalic furrow. And it turns out these aren't useless. They actually have a mechanical role, preventing, as the article title would suggest, mechanical instability during gastrulation. So mechanism influences development. All right, let's turn our attention to some research tools. There's one our bloggers post for today. Learning the basics of phylogenetic analysis from R on Every Day is a School Day. And it's a non-bioinformatician journey through figuring out phylogenetic analysis in R. Getting a basic workflow, accessing different E. coli strains, and then getting different genuses on a single tree. And then for packages, 6 new CRAN packages. There's Blend R, Blended Survival Curves, Comp Class Metrics, classification measures when subclasses are involved, Trial Simulator, Clinical Trial Simulator, R0, estimate the basic reproduction number, R0 or R0, Metamorph R, tidy and streamline metabolomics data workflows, and something a little fun here, Tasty R, recipe data from allrecipes.com. And our final portion of today, our research funding, there is a teeny tiny space grant from DevelopSpace. DevelopSpace has these grants available, I think, until the 20th of September. You just need, it's very simple, just a Google form to apply. And it ranges from $500 to $2,500 per grant. DevelopSpace supports open source science and engineering projects that help advance the human exploration and development of space, with an emphasis towards supporting human activities on Mars. Ankylosaurs in space. Thanks for joining me for Science Research Weekly. Science on.